Okay, hello everyone. Dr. Maiden here with another very long overdue, surprising end to my hiatus, right? An unplanned hiatus video here where I'm going to be talking about another book list for you. Today we're going to be talking about 6 books that are, I think, very useful books to have on your shelf about political science research methods. Okay, so first I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel and continuing to watch content on the channel, even while I have taken an kind of unexpected hiatus from the channel of creating new content. Blame life, blame pandemic, blame 100 different things. I haven't been able to make it a priority the way I wanted to. But I've been really glad to see how people are still watching the videos, and I've been able to comment with quite a few of you. And so this has come out me doing another book list. Number one, because it seems like people are enjoying the book lists. But number two, it seems like a lot of the people that are most active on my channel and asking questions and really wanting, engagement from me, you're either planning to start a PhD program or you're already in one. And so I wanted to put together this list of books. It's 6 instead of 10, right? I could go to 10. There's a bunch of methods books on my shelf, but these are ones where I really wanted to pick ones that I actually care about. So again, I preface, anytime I do a book list, I try and preface by saying this is not the be-all end-all list of research methods books. This is a very specifically tailored list of books to things I have enjoyed and I have found useful, and maybe you'll find them useful too. Take the ones you want, leave the ones you don't want. Maybe this won't work for you at all, okay? Very important disclaimer before we get into this. I am a qualitative researcher, okay? I am not a quantitative researcher, I am a qualitative researcher. So that will be reflective in the list that I give you. If you are a quantitative researcher, a couple of these might work for you, otherwise it's not going to work for you, okay? So if you are here, if you are interested in mixed methods, if you're interested in interviews, if you're interested in field work, case studies, right? There's a little bit of something for everyone here, but overwhelmingly this list is going to lean towards doing things like field work and doing things like ethnography, right? Interviewing, etc. So let's start with book number 1. Book number 1 is actually a textbook that I used when I was an undergrad. It was my undergrad political research methods books, and I have kept it all this time. I have really enjoyed it. I've come back to it over and over. This is Johnson and Reynolds Political Science Research Methods, okay? So this is an undergrad level textbook. As I said, I believe by the time I was using this as my book, it was a 400 level class, but I found it useful. I enjoy the way that they break things down in here. It can be difficult for someone who is much more word-minded, right? Like I said, I'm qualitative, not quantitative. Methods can be really daunting if you are a qualitative-minded person to feel like there is still space for you here, and there is still a way for you to be engaging in research and methods. So I enjoyed having this book because it broke things down in a way that me, being a words person, more than a numbers person, I remember enjoying this book, right? And so I have come back to it in my PhD program. I've come back to it. There's things about beginning the research process, the building blocks of scientific research, research design, things about causal inference, sampling, document analysis, survey research, and interviewing, right? This is geared towards an undergrad audience, but it is something that if you find it useful, there you go. Political Science Research Methods. This is a textbook. This one might be a little bit more expensive than some of these others that are going to be on this list. The next one that I think is really interesting, and again, it can be relevant whether you are quantitative or qualitative, it's just about this idea of research methods, the craft of research, and it's literally the title of the book, The Craft of Research. I really enjoyed this one as well. I think it was well organized, it was coherent, it was easy to read. I remember skimming this as I was thinking about planning out my dissertation, as I was planning out a couple of other projects around the same time as my dissertation. The version I have is the 3rd edition. I don't know if there's a newer one since then. If there is, great, go ahead and get that one. But it's all about research, thinking about your research question, thinking about how you narrow down questions, how you begin to do things like make claims, making a good argument, assembling your reasons and evidence, right? It's all about how, whether you're doing this quantitative or qualitatively, there are ways in which you can be framing your research as strongly as possible. So I really enjoy this one. It's a nice one to just have as a resource on the shelf and come back to as you're building out projects. The next one I'm going to show you is an interesting one. It's one that I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. Maybe you won't enjoy it, and that's why this again is going to be Emily's list of books that could or could not be useful for research methods, political science research methods. This one is a chonker of a book. That's number one. It is a huge book, but I was surprised with how much I enjoyed it. This was assigned to me in my comparative politics capstone class. So essentially everyone has to take, I was comparative politics first field. So I took this class. This was one of the books that we did. And then at the end of the class, I did my comprehensive exam for comparative politics. So this is a book by Monk and Snyder, and it is called Passion, Craft, and Method in Comparative Politics. So it's a chonker of a book. This thing is a heavy book, but it's fascinating. So what it is it's interviews with some of the top scholars in comparative politics. So you have everyone from Gabriel Almond, Robert Bates, David Collier, Samuel Huntington, Leighton, James Scott, Theda Skocpol, Guillermo O'Donnell, all of these different interviews. And so they go into all kinds of things about research design, about methods, about ways of engaging theory with methods. But it's just an interesting concept for a book where it's not trying to teach you something, and yet it's teaching you so much because it's just these recorded interviews that were done with these scholars of comparative politics. So it's a real cool book. I ended up just diving in. We were assigned a couple of the interviews. I ended up reading way more of this book than I thought I would, because I was just so interested in hearing from the perspective of these different researchers how they think about their work, how they think about methods, and how they move through their own research programs or research projects. So it's a really cool book to have. It is a chonker, and it's a little bit unique compared to some of these others that are actually framing out how you do this. This is more of a reflection of scholars talking about how they have done it through their careers and how things have changed through their careers. Still a cool book, and I enjoy it as a methods book. This fourth one is going to be somewhat broadly applicable, and this is from George and Bennett. This is Case Studies and Theory Development in the Social Sciences. I really enjoyed this one because I knew, again, from doing comparative politics stuff, I knew that I would be doing a lot with case studies, looking at single country cases, multi-country cases, within country cases. And so this is a really nice one to have to skim through, to be able to look at and say, okay, what are the foundational aspects I need to keep in mind when it comes to developing a good case study? What are the challenges of single versus multi-country case study? How should I best set this up, right? This is a really nice book that is applicable, you can see there, with social sciences, not just political science, broadly applicable across the social sciences. It's a nice one to have as well. These last two then are ones that I really enjoyed. Both of these were ones that were assigned to me in a field research methods class that I took in my PhD program. And so this first one that I really enjoyed, this is an edited volume by Schatz. This is Political Ethnography. And so the subtext here, what immersion contributes to the study of power, right? So political ethnography. I really enjoyed this one because I knew that that was the direction my own research would be going. It would be immersive, it would be participatory, doing political ethnographies. And so I've really enjoyed this book. I keep it on my shelf. I came back to it regularly as I was building out my dissertation project, thinking about how I wanted to frame out my research and how I was going to be engaging in this particular method that is ethnography. Okay, so this is a nice one to have. I have some other books as well. I have quite a few other books that are dealing with ethnography. This one has been the one I've come back to the most, that I've enjoyed the most. So this list is only 6 books. We are at the final book here, the 6th book. This one is a important one that I think we don't spend enough time. I feel like I can speak from experience. I was not given enough of a primer on this before I sent myself off into the field. I think universities should be doing a better job of priming students and preparing students for field work, for field research. And this book was assigned for this class, right? So I had a little bit of prep, but I feel like there's so much more that could be done. This is an edited volume, Surviving Field Research. Surviving Field Research. So in this case, this book is specializing on working in violent and difficult situations. So whether you are in conflict zones, whether you are in very immediately previously conflict zones, developing countries, least developed countries, there are very real challenges that you face as a researcher. And this is a nice book that is shaping out some of the things that you need to be thinking about, some of the, the human elements, not you doing your research. There is some of that in here as well, of some of the challenges, some of the pitfalls you might face in moving your research forward. But it's also getting to that human element of you're a person, you're a researcher in these areas doing these things, and there are things that you should be thinking about to keep yourself safe, to move your research forward, but in sensible ways, right? So this is Surviving Field Research. I think this is a good volume. I enjoy this one. Again, it was one that, because I took my husband into the field with me, right? We both were reading through this as we were preparing to go and move to start my dissertation research. So this is a nice one to have that's focusing on how you actually do it and how you do it sustainably, how you do it safely in areas that it can be sometimes dangerous to work in. So that was my list of 6 books, 6 political science research methods themed books for today. I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to link the titles because some of them I didn't mention. In some of these edited volumes, there's like 6 authors. I'm going to have all of that available below. Check out below the full citations for any of these books. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Let me know if there are other kinds of listicles that you would like, particularly those of you that are maybe in thinking about preparing for a PhD program, or you're currently in one and you want some, as if you don't have enough reading on your hands, if you want some extra reading, let me know, comment below. I'm happy to put together another video.